If we want to understand what happened with the assassination of Jovenel Moise, president of Haiti, we have to go back to January 2010 when an earthquake hit Haiti and killed 200,000 people. If that figure isn't striking enough for you, you need to realize that about 2 months later, an earthquake 10 times more powerful hit Chile, but only 525 people died. That difference shows the importance of economic development. Obviously, there are multiple factors that played into the assassination of Haiti's president. And of course, many of these factors began before 2010. But I want to explain what happened in 2010, then how it affected Moise's election in 2016. Finally, I'll explain what Haiti was like under Moise, which should be enough to understand what happened with the assassination. And just to give you an idea of who I am, I'm Craig Palsson. I'm an economist who has published research on the political economy of Haiti. I speak Haitian Creole fluently, and I have a Haitian flag the size of my house. I'm pretty invested in all of this. Back to 2010, Haiti was supposed to have a presidential election in February, but with the country in shambles, it was delayed until November. Delayed elections are going to become a pattern, and it's really important for this story. If no one candidate wins more than 50% of the vote, then the top two candidates advance to a runoff. This had never before happened in Haitian history, but in November, there were 3 top candidates. The frontrunner was Mirlan Maniga with 31.4% of the vote. Second was Jude Celestin with 22.5%. And third was Michel Martelly with 21.8%. The gap between second and third place was 0.8 percentage points. With so much on the line, accusations erupted. Now, Celestin was the incumbent president's candidate, so people started accusing him of using the government's resources to cheat, even though there really wasn't evidence for cheating or that the other candidates did not cheat. After months of gridlock, US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton came to Haiti and said that Celestin would be removed from the election and Michel Martelly would be advanced to the runoff. Here's the crazy thing. Martelly was not a politician. He was a music star known for his incredibly crass performances. Maniga, the first place finisher, was a college professor and wife to a former president. So Clinton's actions set up an election between a former first lady and a celebrity with zero political experience. And the celebrity won. I'm sure there's no ironic interpretation of those events. So why is an economist even interested in this situation? I have 2 reasons. First, there's a long history of examining the economics of voting. To economists, voting looks weird. The costs are high. You have to learn about each candidate, the issues, and you often have to wait in long lines to cast your single vote. And the benefits are low. As much as we like to say, your vote matters.
Your vote matters.
Voting margins are usually so large that if you didn't vote, there probably wouldn't be a difference in the outcome. So why do people vote even though the economics don't make sense? The general conclusion is that people get utility or satisfaction from exercising their civic duty and voting. And they even get some utility from telling others that they voted. Later, I'll discuss the second reason why economists study voting behavior. But the economics of voting are important for the following Haitian election. Because if voting is mostly motivated by satisfaction, how does that satisfaction change when votes are ignored and foreign powers change who becomes president? When Martelly's term ends, he selects Jovenel Moise to be the candidate for his party. Like Martelly, Moise has no political experience. He's a businessman, most commonly known for his banana plantation. But political experience doesn't count for much in Haiti these days. There are a few affiliations that candidates might have, but there haven't been stable political parties that have existed for decades. In fact, Moise was running for a party that President Martelly had created during his administration. The party's name was Parti Haïtien Tête Calée, or the Bald-Headed Haitian Party. That's like Trump creating the orange-skinned American Party. Coming into the election, Moise did not have that much popular support. Indeed, the candidate that had the most support was again Celestin, the one who had been removed from the 2010 election. But in my research, I found that that intervention in 2010 discouraged Haitians from voting in the next election. I mean, why vote when foreign powers are just going to determine who's the president anyway? So in 2016, Moise was elected with only 18% voter turnout. This gives us some important context. Moise became president with little popular support in a country that was discouraged with the democratic process. Oh, and even though Martelly left office in February 2016, Moise didn't take office until February 2017. This delay is a crucial detail. Back to the second reason why economists are interested in voting behavior. There's an important feedback loop between politics and the economy. We've already seen one example. Economics affects how we vote. But of course, politics also affect the economy. So how did the economy look under the the Moise administration. It's impossible for me to cover all the ways that Moise's administration affected the economy, but let me cover just one important issue. The same year Moise took the presidency, the Haitian Senate published a 650-page report documenting embezzlement by the Martelly administration. The Senate accused Martelly of using $2 billion worth of loans from Venezuela for personal gain rather than for their intended use, earthquake recovery. See, I told you it went back to 2010, and don't worry, pretty soon those delays are going to be important too. One company was given $116,000 to install 65 solar street lamps, a job that would normally cost about $60,000. The owner of that company? Jovenel Moise. Charging double for a government project is not that unusual, and even if the lamps were never even installed, $116,000 is small change. But Moise was Martelly's candidate, and Moise was in the report, so the people saw the administration as guilty. 1 year later, a grassroots movement began. A viral hashtag asked, "Kot kob Petro Caribea," that is, where's the Venezuela money? Within months, widespread protests had shut down the country, and this is where politics affects the economy. In my research, I've collected how many new small businesses start in Haiti each year. Year by year looked a little better, but when the protests came in 2019, it locked up the economy. New businesses weren't coming like they should, and of course this was exacerbated by COVID the next year. This was happening during a period of incredibly high inflation and shrinking GDP. The economy was stagnating, and though many of these trends began before Moise took office, many Haitians could see that the Moise administration shouldered some of the blame. And on top of it all, Moise was effectively a dictator. His administration had failed to hold elections at any level throughout the country. In 2020, Moise was one of a handful of legitimate political officials in the country, but his legitimacy was being challenged. Some argued that his term should have ended in February 2021, but he argued that since he didn't take office until February 2017, his term lasted until 2022. See? The delays! Finally, he was in the process of rewriting the Constitution, something that did not have much popular support. So at the beginning of July 2021, the Haitian economy, already one of the poorest in the world, was getting poorer, and many people blamed the president. Normally, you would express your dissatisfaction in an election, but with a rough democratic history, many Haitians don't trust elections. There's a saying in Haiti, the Constitution is paper, but the bayonet is steel. Voting would have been choosing the Constitution, but someone chose the bayonet. What's next for Haiti? We're not sure, but if you're interested in how presidential assassinations have affected the US economy, you should check out this video right here.